Legacy at 30,000 feet. The phone trembled slightly in Clara Monroe's weathered hand as she gazed out the window, watching the clouds drift beneath the wing. At 90 years old, her grip wasn't as steady as it once was, but her mind? Sharp, steady. A lifetime of discipline had seen to that. And at this moment, she knew exactly what she needed to do. The young flight attendant who had just humiliated her in front of everyone in first class was about to learn what happened when you judged a woman by her wrinkles and melanin instead of her rank in service. "Ma'am, I need you to put that phone away," snapped the attendant, her manicured nails clicking against the tray table. "We're about to begin our descent." Clara turned slowly. Her deep brown eyes locked onto the woman's icy blue stare with calm authority. "Just one moment, dear," she replied with the voice of someone who'd once spoken through cockpit radios while refueling jets mid-air in combat zones. As she pressed the call button, a secure line in Washington, D.C. began to ring. But to understand why a 90-year-old war hero was dialing high command from a commercial airplane seat, we need to go back to a crisp October morning at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta, where Clara Monroe had started this journey. The terminal pulsed with its usual energy, businessmen snapping into their Bluetooths, children clinging to stuffed animals, travelers dragging rolling suitcases across polished tile. Through it all moved Clara, small in stature but unmistakably composed. She wore a navy blue skirt suit, low-heeled shoes, and a pearl necklace her late husband's anniversary gift from decades ago. Her hair, white and curled with care, glowed under the airport lights. She walked with a cane off for necessity, but because it helped people get out of her way faster. "Can I help you with your bag, ma'am?" asked a young airport employee whose badge read Terrence. Clara smiled. "Thank you, young man. That's very kind." As they walked toward Gate A19, Terrence chatted warmly. "Where you headed?" "New York City. My grandson's receiving an award at Columbia University. African-American history professor." "That's amazing. You must be proud." "Oh, I am. He's continuing the family legacy of service just in a different way." She winked. "Though I still think he should have joined the Air Force like his grandmother." Terrence stopped walking. "Wait, you served 25 years. First black woman to pilot a KC-135 Stratotanker. Back when people thought women belonged in the kitchen, not the cockpit." Terrence's jaw dropped. "Thank you for your service, ma'am." At the gate, Clara handed her first-class boarding pass to the agent and received a warm smile in return. "Welcome aboard, Miss Monroe. C2A. Enjoy the flight." But not everyone welcomed her that warmly. Up ahead, near the aircraft door, stood a young flight attendant named Lindsay Parker. 26. Blonde. Stressed. Still relatively new to the skies, she had joined the airline straight out of college, dreaming of world travel and Instagram-worthy layovers. Reality had come in the form of crying babies, spilled drinks, and zero patience from passengers or supervisors. As Clara approached the plane door, Lindsay's internal radar flared. She was already mentally labeling passengers, businessmen, families, upgrade freeloaders. Clara, with her unassuming clothes and grandmotherly presence, didn't fit Lindsay's mental image of a first-class flyer. "Can I see your boarding pass?" Lindsay asked, forcing a smile. "Of course, dear. Seat 2A, I believe." Lindsay did a double take. "Yes, right this way." Clara settled into her seat with a soft sigh. She loved flying, still did. That particular plane, though newer, reminded her of the Stratotanker she'd once commanded. Same sounds, same weight, different mission. Lindsay, however, couldn't stop watching her from the galley. "She's in 2A, she whispered to her colleague, Javier. "Doesn't look like she belongs." Javier, a seasoned attendant with 15 years of experience, shot her a warning look. "Careful. That woman might be more than she appears." Lindsay shrugged. "I'm just saying first class usually looks a little different." Back in her seat, Clara took out a small photo that had slipped from her purse, a picture of a young woman in uniform, standing proudly beside a jet. Lindsay noticed it as she returned with water. "Is that you?" she asked, unable to stop herself. Clara smiled softly. "That was me in 1965. First day flying a tanker. I was 24 and thought I could conquer the world. You were. A pilot. Still am, Clara said. It's in the blood. Lindsay blinked. Her assumptions stumbled. Still, when turbulence hit mid-flight and Lindsay stumbled with the meal cart, it was Clara's hand that steadied her. Bend your knees, Clara advised. Low center of gravity. Keep one hand on something solid. Lindsay looked at her, stunned. You okay? Javier asked. She caught me, Lindsay said softly. The turbulence passed, but something lingered. Lindsay watched as Clara calmly sipped tea, reading a biography of the Tuskegee Airmen. She corrected passengers on airplane mechanics. She calmed a young woman terrified of flying by explaining how wing flaps worked. She flew in Vietnam, Lindsay told Javier later. No kidding. And in the Gulf War. Humanitarian missions, too. Still think she doesn't belong in first class? Javier asked with a smirk. Lindsay didn't reply. Later, as the plane began descending into LaGuardia, a commotion erupted at the back. A man was shouting, trying to reach the exit door. Panic attack. Dangerous timing. Landing protocol prohibited anyone from leaving their seat. But Clara didn't hesitate. Unbuckling, she moved through the aisle with calm urgency. Son, she said, her voice slicing through the chaos. Look at me. The man froze. You're scared. I understand. But we're almost there. Breathe with me. She coached him through it, sat him down, buckled his belt. The plane touched down as she clicked her own belt into place in a random empty seat. Textbook landing. No drama. Just poise. After they parked at the gate, Lindsay approached Clara, now helping the man gather himself. That was. How did you know what to do? Command instinct, Clara said. Fear is fear, whether in combat or on a flight to New York. Lindsay's voice faltered. I think I need to report that you left your seat during landing. Technically, that's a violation. Do what you must, dear. I'd do it again. Outside the gate, Clara's grandson, Marcus, was waiting. You okay, Graham? He asked. She nodded. But I might need to handle something. Behind her, Lindsay was explaining to security that Clara had left her seat. Potential safety threat, she muttered. She hadn't meant it maliciously, but her report was being taken seriously. Clara stepped forward. I believe there's been a misunderstanding. Ma'am, are you? Lieutenant Colonel Clara Monroe, United States Air Force, retired. Everyone paused. Lindsay froze. David, the other attendant, stepped in. She calmed a man trying to open the emergency door. She prevented a disaster. The officer turned. Understood. No violation filed. Thank you, Colonel. Clara turned to Lindsay. We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do afterward. I'm so sorry, Lindsay whispered. I didn't know who you were. That's the thing about assumptions, Clara said gently. They never check credentials. Marcus added, she's one of the first black women to fly for the Air Force. Helped design refueling protocols still in use. Lindsay's eyes brimmed with tears. Clara placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. It's never too late to grow. Later, Lindsay reached out to General Thompson at Clara's recommendation. She joined a diversity mentorship program within aviation. A few weeks later, she was sitting across from Clara at a cafe, notebook in hand. You'll mentor me? She asked. I already am, Clara said with a smile. And so began a journey, one that turned conflict into growth, judgment into legacy, and a seat on a plane into a place where history flew again not just in altitude, but in impact. As Clara liked to say, the sky doesn't belong to some. It belongs to all of us who dare to rise.